What's up, everyone? Today we are doing the last dimensional hero overview, and that is over Albedo. Albedo is a dimensional strength-based hero. She is a tank unit, and her primary role, surprise, is a tank. And so looking at her skills, her ultimate, Albedo instantly teleports to the most densely populated area of enemies and deals 350% AoE damage to all nearby enemies. 50% of the total damage dealt to her enemies is converted to a shield, which has a duration of 8 seconds. And then the shield amount just goes up with every level, up to 70% at max. Next, Shield Lord. Albedo teleports next to a random ally that is currently near an enemy and deals 260% damage to the enemy, stunning them for 4 seconds. If the hero Ainz is an ally, Albedo will prioritize him with this skill above all other allies. Damage increase goes up as you level it up. And then Albedo receives a shield with a value equal to 250% of her attack rating, after which she teleports next to the backline ally with the lowest health and protects them for 5 seconds. While the shield exists, neither Albedo nor the ally she is protecting can be controlled by enemies, and Albedo shall bear all of the damage intended for that ally. If the hero Ainz is an ally, she will prioritize him with the skill above all other allies. Level 2, the shield value increased to 300% of her attack rating. At level 3, the damage received while the shield is active is reduced by 40%, and then at 4, 60%. And then her passive, during battle, Albedo critical damage resistance is increased by 45 points. If Albedo is dealt a critical strike, the attacker's attack rating is reduced by 30% for 5 seconds, and this skill cannot be stacked. At level 2, her crit damage resistance is increased by 60 points. 3, if Albedo is dealt a critical strike, the attacker's attack rating is reduced by 50%. And at level 4, unlocks Hermes Trismegistus skill upgrade. I have no idea how to say that. If Albedo is dealt a critical strike, the attacker's attack rating is reduced by 70%. And so you can see why she is prioritized as number 3 amongst all the 3 dimensionals. A lot of her kit is basically set up to support Ainz. And so if you want her to be basically functioning at the highest level, you will pair her with Ainz. And unfortunately, that would require you to build her and Ainz out. And honestly, you would want both of them built out pretty high. And so it just makes it really hard to argue why you would want to prioritize her or Ainz over Shaltir, who is, at this point, kind of being like a PvP menace and is working in a lot of different areas of Companions and doesn't rely on someone else within, this trio of units. Now, so let's look at signature item. For each allied dimensional hero deployed in battle, the defense rating of all dimensionals is increased by 15%, and this can stack 2 times. And then basically it goes up at plus 10. 20, it can be stacked 3 times. And then at 30, similar thing, it just kind of increases the stats and the value of all of these. So you can see that she is a good unit when paired with dimensionals, which is good that Ainz is a dimensional because at least you get that bonus. And then if you have Shaltir as well, you could put them together, get the faction bonus, and then also get the buffs from her. The unfortunate part is at this point in the game, there are no other dimensionals available. So the most value you could get out of this is 3. But also you can't really mix and match units. You can't put her with some other different dimensionals because she gets her value from Ainz, and there are no other dimensionals in the game. And so she really is kind of being locked by her own abilities, which is unfortunate. You might see some value out of her as more dimensionals are released, but I would not count on that at this point. My assumption is that even if her and Ainz become more valuable, the new dimensionals are going to have a lot of value, and there are going to be new champions already introduced into the game that might already be better than Ainz and her in other areas, and they just don't really have as much value as they do right now. And so if you are a spender, obviously, if you want to buy them and use them, they're going to be good units. They're going to work well if you build them out all the way. But I would say probably not number 1 priority. She does work well with Ainz and is someone that you want to pair with Ainz if you are going to be using him. And so naturally, because Ainz is good at pushing campaign, towers, different areas like that, probably even Forked Road, that's where you'd want to put them. There's no dimensional tower yet. I have not heard anything about that being a thing, but I know that is something that people have really wanted in the classic version for a long time. And I think that'd be really cool if they brought a dimensional tower into Companions, even though it'd probably make a lot of people upset. But I'm still hoping for it because I think it'd be really fun down the road when there's more dimensional heroes. But I think outside of those areas and those points, she's really not going to be a unit that is going to be doing tank duties better than what we already have with units like Mishka, Gristle, stuff like that. Like there are just better options that don't require as much investment that her and Ainz require to be paired together. And so, I really like her as a unit. I think she's cool. I think she has some cool abilities. And obviously like looks really nice as far as, a unit goes, but just not really worth all of the investment. But before we move on to see her abilities in action, let's look at the divine effects. So at 1 star, unlocks Hermes Trismegistus skill upgrade. And so you can see more details here. If Albedo is dealt a critical strike, the attacker's attack range is reduced by 70%. Level 2 or 2 stars, just kind of stat buffs, which is always nice. Level 3, Albedo enters a rage which lasts 10 seconds. Whenever Ainz dies or whenever the first ally in her team dies during the rage state, Albedo is immune to all damage. And so basically this ability is getting buffed with the 3 star, more stat buffs, and then the 5 star, the 80% is being adjusted to be even higher. So basically the 3 and 5 stars and the 4 stars, just her basic abilities being increased even more. Their stats are buffed even more. And so nothing totally game changing as far as that goes. So I think if you were to get her just to Ascended, you'd be relatively fine. Maybe get her to 1 star just to get the easy, extra a little bit. But that is how she functions. So let's go and see how she does in the Arena of Trials. All right, so you can see her kind of doing her thing, which is like teleporting to her ally, teleporting and hitting the other team. Shielding, you can see her shield proccing. And that's basically it. I mean, unless a unit dies, which this unit probably won't die for a very long time of watching this, you're not going to see her other stuff, but this is what she does. She shields, she hits other people, and she teleports to her allies to help protect them. And that is her big value. And obviously that value goes up immensely when it's paired with Ainz because of the priority that it gives him. And so that is Albedo. That is why she's probably the 3rd most favorite of the 3 dimensionals in this event. It's a little disappointing that maybe they should have reworked her a little bit to make her a little more applicable to a wider scale. I don't mind the dimensional buffs. I think having like buffs to specific factions with units is kind of unique and cool, but having a unit like that when there's literally 3 in the game and you can't max them all out without spending money is unfortunate. So we'll see. We'll see if she gets more use elsewhere. I think obviously there'll be some use for her when she's maxed out in certain areas, but I think the cost is not really worth the reward. But hopefully this is helping y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed the event so far. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day. Peace.